Hi everyone, and welcome to another video. My name is Luis. If you don't know me, I am socially engaged. Today I have a little bit of a more sober tone, obviously because of the situation in Ukraine. It's a situation that is very dear to my heart, not only because I'm a Hungarian citizen and actually the war is right next door, it's in the backyard, neighboring country, but also because I have so many Ukrainian friends, people who I've been texting in a very surreal way. They are in bunkers, and it's a deep personal issue also because by working in politics myself, I've been working with my colleagues against a regime that has been getting closer and closer with Vladimir Putin in terms of narratives, in terms of autocracy, and in terms also of corruption, in the way that they have created a system of oligarchs that justify their staying in power. I'm not going to do an intro, so I am just going to tell you basically what I want to talk about in this video. First, I want to analyze a little bit the situation of what have we been doing here in Hungary. The second thing that I want to talk about is a little bit about the analysis of the sanctions. And then the third thing is, is a little bit about a reflection on the personal feelings on how do we politicize or not the topic of this conflict that is affecting actually majority of the people in the world. Let's start with analyzing what happened. After the Russian aggression, the international system has been failing on all of us. And I think that this is actually a personal opinion, obviously, but it's a reflection of someone who has been working in politics and has been working in institutions for a while, and that is very disappointed on the system as it is. I'm very disappointed that we saw this conflict coming long ago. We have seen the rhetoric of the Russian propaganda, and we have been cowardly enough to think that we can solve conflicts using tools that we use from 100 years ago. I am not opposing 100% to the idea of diplomacy, but I do think that institutions keep working in a way that is very naive, especially in an era where autocracies have become the norm, where populism have become the norm. I'm not saying this because obviously I was born in Venezuela and my family ran from Colombia, so we have lived the survival of populism and autocracies for a while, and it's in my blood. But it is because actually the sensitivities of us crying out the existence of this wolf of populism has been ignored by many institutions. The world has seen now that actually diplomacy did not manage to actually prevent this conflict. It's a lesson for all of us to watch all of our governments and to be critical that the fact that someone is actually adopting an autocratic tone is the first red flag to say we should not allow this. Democracies are very fragile. They disappear by the day. I know it, and I am living through it. We're fighting for it, but it's a reality that has become the norm, and the international system should not allow themselves to actually, in the future, continue enabling these autocratic leaders that don't care about their people. They just care about their personal ambition, and they just care about power. Secondly, let's think about the sanctions and the impact that these sanctions have had. I do think that, as many of you, I think that, we have all been on the street. We had a big protest here in Hungary calling for sanctions. I saw the protest in several places in the world, but time has passed very slowly in the last days. By the time I'm recording this video, it's the 6th day of attack on Ukrainian soil by Russian troops, and even though negotiations have started, we have not seen a lot of progress actually when it comes to the enablement of sanctions. Yesterday alone, the United Nations General Assembly, which I think is a very outdated institution, started talking about how do we bake a resolution? And then on the most ironic tone, I can say, like we're tired of praise and thoughts. We're tired of angry letters from institutions and then declarations on condemnation. This is not possible. This is not the world that we live in anymore. It's unfortunate, but as I said, autocracies have become the norm. Aggression has become the norm, and I think that that we were too slow in adding on systems of sanctions towards a regime that was obviously threatening civil liberties and also the freedom and independence of other states. We're still far away from understanding what cooperation is. I think that in the last 3 days we have seen more the determination of the Ukrainian people. I just come to almost tears with the idea of seeing leaders of parties like the Liberal Party in Ukraine, which are taking up on arms. Personal hero of mine, she is Kira, having chats with staff members from those political parties and understanding that actually we keep talking about diplomacy and then how do we do alleviation plans when people are in bunkers, when people are dying, when people are actually creating Molotov bombs in order to defend themselves. It's a little bit surreal for me. So I think that yes, support is needed, but I do think that we need to come up also with more demands towards our governments to be more supportive and to understand the mentality of these autocrats, because they don't respect civil liberties, and then obviously they don't care about burning out their nations. The consequences of the economy of the Russian Federation and the effects on the people are important, obviously, but I am very skeptical on how this is actually influencing the mentality of Putin, and then now we see the human suffering because of that. Thirdly, I want to talk a little bit about the political side, and then on how actually this situation has been capitalized or politicized by political actors. I, as you know, work in politics, but then we had a protest here in Budapest, and one of the things that got my attention was I went with a friend and a former colleague of mine in my studies of human rights and constitutional law at Central European University. She's from Greece, and then one thing that she was telling me was that the protest was overly politicized, and that we were talking only about Orban enabling Putin and so on, and then it was not about solidarity, it was about putting the blame game. That made me think a lot, because on the one side my brain is telling me, when it comes to Orban, we're talking about a Trojan horse in the house. We're talking about someone who has been enabling the Putin regime, who has condemned or made more difficult the process of sanctions here in the European Union. We have, for example, Pact 2 deals here in Hungary. We also have the Russian Investment Bank based here in Hungary, and we don't have seen stronger measurements from the Fidesz government. So on one side, I do think that it should be political, because at the end of the day, we are in an election year, and if we have a Trojan horse, we need to kick him out in order to bring back peace to Europe. On the other side, I see so much solidarity from people, and yes, I see political parties putting the blame game on institutions, on governments, and so on. But I also see the waking up of civil society, and I'm happy, because when I opened this channel, Socially Engaged was actually not to talk only about political engagement, but also social engagement. And I do think that people from all sectors have come together to put on donations, to collect food, to people in the front, and then to help wherever we can. I mean, as a first responder country, because obviously we are in the border, I see that with my own eyes. I come actually today from visiting the border, and I do think that that is somehow hopeful to see human solidarity on this level. On the positive note, I think that many times actually I've said this, these autocrats do not measure the consequences of their acts embedded in their own ego and in their bubbles. It happened to Orban with the anti-LGBT legislation. He did not expect actually to have such a big response of solidarity for the LGBT community coming from Europe and globally. Verhofstadt was saying it very well in the tweet, and was saying that, you know, the consequences of all this conflict and this aggression, it's going to be a weaker Russia. Is going to be, at the end of the day, troops that are going to be actually in permanent basis and not temporary basis in the Baltics, in Romania, in Slovakia, in Poland, a stronger NATO, faster response, united world, and also it will see the rise of modern institutions coming up to the reality and then getting out of their naive bubbles. So I'm going to end up this video not trying to condemn the institutions as much as I did, but then trying to call out for action. I do think that we all have an amazing power to make things happen. I have seen that firsthand. When I go on the road, I meet with so many people that give me so much hope because they go out there and they take action. I invite you to do the same. Donate if you can. Go to a center and then try to help those in need. If you're in the region, try to help hosting 1 or 2 persons, not in your house, but then maybe connecting them with an organization that can find them a place. Be kind. And remember, do not discriminate against Russian minorities in your countries because they're not guilty for the crimes of their government. However, I can tell you that solidarity is the only thing that makes us human, and in a climate where actually we are forgetting how to be kind and how to be human, it is completely normal to feel anger, it's completely normal to feel sad, but it is our duty to do something about it and then to step forward and to help those in need. I'm gonna finish this part and then I hope to see you next time. Bye.